What's up, Staunch Gang? As you guys know, here at Staunch on Film, well, we're pretty die-hard Corey Feldman fans. Now, I recently split the channel. It used to be just Staunch TV. Now I have Staunch on Music and Staunch on Film. Subscribe to Staunch on Music, why don't you? But back in the day, well, one of the first big projects I did was do a documentary called Forever, the Untold Story of Rock and Roll High School Forever, which won some awards. I got the Pepe Cerna Award at the South Texas Underground Film Festival, and I was also featured at the Victoria, Texas Film Festival. So that was a lot of fun. I got a lot of eyeballs on that thing on the channel. But I will be re-uploading it with more of a narrative of things I've learned since then and whatnot. And a big part of that is, well, I got my hands on a third draft script of the film Rock and Roll High School Forever. Now I gotta tell you, man, I never thought I'd get my hands on one of these things. I don't know how many drafts there are, but the draft I have, well, let's say that it is basically a lost version of Rock and Roll High School Forever, as there are many things that are different or, slightly changed or just completely missing. And I'm going to get into that here in a bit. So if you're a fan of this film, let me know down below. Check out my documentary after you subscribe, like, and hit all on that little notification bell. Also, get yourself some Staunch merchandise. We got 20% off your first order right now. So let's look into a lost version of one of my all-time favorite movies, the ill-fated sequel to Rock and Roll High School, Rock and Roll High School Forever.
Are you ready to rock and roll?
And the first big change here is that, well, it's still Vince Lombardi High. It is not Ronald Reagan High, as it was retitled, And everything's still kicking off with the big prank and the pipes and everything like that. It's all pretty much the same, although there is a few little differences, little additions. Like, we find out that Eaglebauer himself is actually helping out the staff. He supplies the truancy reports. And we also learn that May 14th is the official day of Rock and Roll High School. And when everything gets kicked off, whenever, they're yelling over the walkie-talkies and go for it, it's all there. Corey Feldman still runs out. It's Rock and Roll High School Day. All of that is still in the film. However, the intro song is the Ramones' classic Rock and Roll High School. So they all dance through, everything's going just fine, just like in the movie. Only this time, they wind up in the mechanic's shop. And the Ramones song's still playing, and he meets up with the rest of the band, and we see for the first time that Mag, played by Evan Richards in the film, well, here in the script, he has a mohawk. He's more of a punker type. And in the band, well, there's no Namrock. Namrock is not here. Instead, we have Stella playing bass. And Stella is kind of like a gearhead in this. And they basically, they have a jam set up there. They got a whole music set up. I guess that's where they practice or something. And then they just jam out in the opening sequence. And so it's kind of weird because after that, it jumps directly into a scene involving the contest where they're trying to win.
Free tickets, here we come.
Rock TV 976 call-in line. Who's your favorite hometown band?
Yeah, I want to vote for the Eradicators from Reagan High.
Tickets to go see The Pursuit of Happiness. And that happens in the film when they set up like a little trick, and Mag has, automated responses, giving them votes over and over, so there's no chance they won't win, you know what I mean? And later on they get a big bill. So that's going on here still, and we kind of just see that start. And this is at the beginning of the movie. So from there, it jumps into, Jesse skating around the school and whatnot. And this is where we do see Namrock for the first time. He's still a character. Although, he's at his locker and he has like a shrunken head and there's like burning candles. He's wearing a grass skirt, saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo. He has this weird little like kind of catchphrase. It's all very slightly racist, if you will. And everything still happens here. He runs in on the Bible study, all of that. He snags the, thing from the girl and everything. But then he runs into Rita, the substitute teacher, and his love interest in the film, who here is Australian. And all that just plays out like normal. And then we see Vader pull up because, at the intro of the film, they're like, we need a vice principal. So all of that still happens. So Vader pulls up just in due time. And here, Vader gets out. And Vader is a man. It's not Mary Warrenov at all. It's like more of a Terminator-looking guy, but still has like the claw and everything. He still pulls up in the black car. And then again with the Stella Gearhead stuff, we see her like just kind of like in the tire shop or in the machine shop, if you will, getting greasy and whatnot. But it's here where they discuss doing their little prank, that they have a prank that they want to do during lunch. And you're kind of, what? This lady selling her refrigerator? Or what's happening here? So then they need some help, I guess. So they get Namrock to come help them with their little scheme. Oh, and his catchphrase is Nani Rani Netu. Yeah, so they show up to the house with the they do the dance at the refrigerator and everything still. Only this time they dance to The Lion Sleeps Tonight. But that all plays out pretty much the same. And in fact, in the script, it even says that Namrock doesn't have anything on. Like when he pulls his shirt up, that he doesn't have any metal or anything like that. 'Cause apparently he didn't know what was happening. And I always thought that was weird in the film. That he's the only one not decorated under his shirt. But it's kind of explained here in the script. He's just some guy that they just kind of get to help out here and there. Didn't really prep him up, you know what I mean? So then it cuts to later that night at the dance. And instead of them playing, I think it's I'm Walking in the film. And here, instead of that, they're doing The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And then whenever all the chaos happens, whenever they decide, like, hey, let's prank this place, if you will, they decide to cause chaos because, they're getting some lip from the yuppies. Well, everything plays out just the same as it does in the film, only this time they play Yummy, Yummy, Yummy. And everyone kind of goes around, only it's a little more harsh here. We get the stuff with Mag and Miss Grossman in the film, but here in the script, Mag really has it out for Miss Grossman. Like, it seems that he really doesn't like her, and he almost really hurts her at times. Like, here in the film, he even moons her during the dance. She gets knocked over a table. Like, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, but everything still plays out exactly like it does in the script. They get caught by Dale and Roy, and they get taken down, and Vader threatens them and whatnot and switches up their schedule, tries to break things up. So then that's when we get the third period lunch scene. And all of that's pretty much the same. There's like some inmates there, they kind of go all out with the school's cliques. But then, we even get the pigeon shit, whenever the pigeon shits on Jesse's shoulder. Well, one of the gang members shoots it and we see the pigeon fall. So they really went all out with it. And here, not only do they meet Tabitha, they go over and sit down with her and try to hang out with her because I guess they're enticed by her food.
May I help you?
I want that big piece of fat right there.
This
Right here.
This big piece, this one.
So they go and sit down with her and they're having a little conversation. And that's when one of the jocks, they throw some food. They start some shit and they throw food at Tabitha and it hits her plate. I think a football hit her tray or something and it splattered all over, which kind of rubbed Mag the wrong way. And Mag got his burrito and called it a burrito gun, got him back. And then Jesse, they start throwing food at each other, and there's like a little kind of gag like that. Jesse ends it all with his Three Stooges thing that he does in the film. Only it's done here in the lunchroom. And this is kind of outside in the gazebo area. And so they run off, you know what I mean? And the yuppies, or the preppies, they take off after them. And let's say that Tabitha is enticed. So after lunch, that's when we see Mag do his book report. And all this exactly, plays out just like it does in the film. Only this time, let's say that Miss Grossman is in bad shape. She's non-responsive and she's just out of it. And it's just played for jokes. And then, we cut to Vader in his office talking to Dale and Roy, talking about how these people, these kids need discipline and blah, blah, blah. We need to show them what's up. And we see that Dr. Vader has a Darth Vader poster, so that's cool. We also get a Star Wars reference here this early on. So after that, we see that Mag gets a present at his locker. It's a live Venus flytrap, and it says it's from an anonymous lover. I wonder who that could be. So it's there in the parking lot that we see that, the Screaming Steve is there. I don't think he's named Screaming Steve in this, but that guy's there, and they find out they won the contest. And they get to go see, whatever nameless band it is, because it's not listed here, but it is, again, The Pursuit of Happiness in the film. But then everything kind of plays out similar. Vader shows up, they get sent to detention. It's just the jokes aren't there, when they cut the cord and all that kind of stuff. It's just played very straight. And so they go to detention, and it's all pretty much the same. There's a little bit more, different characters sitting there in detention that have passed on or whatever. But it all ends like that with So then we see the guys go to the big concert. And here again, it's not the Pursuit of Happiness. I have to keep saying that, but it's some other band. And it's like a big show. And they're there, they're jamming out. They get called up stage, they get introduced. And then they get to hang out backstage. It's like this whole thing. You can see where it would have been a lot of money there, as written at least. And then Jesse's like, oh, hey guys, we're in a band too. Like, we're actually playing the prom. And this is when the rest of the group is like, what? We can't play the prom. We're playing the prom? And he even invites the band to go check them out at the prom. They're like, hey, we'll be there. Why not? And then we get to the Eaglebauer scenes, which is interesting because we find out, yeah, Eaglebauer was a former student. And it kind of hints that maybe he was there during the original film. He was a student there. I don't know. And everything is pretty much the same here. You know, there's even the horse meat gag and all of that. It's all pretty much word for word. We then cut to Namrock helping Stella in the auto shop. And what they're doing is converting an old, clunker into the cool mobile. It's like this big thing that Stella wants to do. She talks about it a few times. It's pretty sweet. It gives her something to do. So then the scene comes up where they're driving around and they're like, hey, let's go check out the witch's house later. And like, what witch? Oh, the one from third period lunch, right? That whole scene. Only this time they kind of give Mag a hard time. They're like, oh, Mag's sweet on her. Mag likes the witch, blah, blah, blah. And then they show up. That all plays out. And Mag takes the broom from Tabitha. And again, Tabitha is enticed. So then we have the prom auditions. And all of this is really similar. Like, it has everything there down to the Wombat Vengeance. All of that is still there. It's just a few things are different, like the gags and whatnot. Now Mag does get stuck, and he's behind, and he makes it to the stage at the last minute, just like he does in the film. Only in the film he trips over a tripwire. In this one, he kind of paints himself into a corner with a bunch of like gooey, sticky cement stuff, and he doesn't know what to do. So he runs in like covered in it, still jams out. But there's also some other gags there, like aside from the dog stuff, they release a bunch of mice, which kind of hints back to the original, which is nice to see. And Eaglebauer still is there and destroys the security system. Dale shows up like covered in cement. That's what happened to Dale. He got stuck in that stuff. So it's all there, and they end up winning the prom audition, and they got the gig. And then he's even talking to Rita afterwards, and she's like, yeah, you were the best, and blah, 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 blah. And then she walks off. And here, Corey breaks the fourth wall. He breaks the fourth wall in the film too, but here he breaks the fourth wall and he says, my future wife. And then follows her into the class that he's not in. And so that football music scene, that all plays out just like it did, minus the Three Stooges gag and him getting into it with Donovan, because all of that was pretty much transferred to the lunch scene. So here, all of that happens, it's kind of exciting or whatever. And then we find out that Jesse's middle name is Edwin, Jesse Edwin Davis. And so it's at this point, after all the chaos, Dr. Vader is pissed. And Vader, here they even have him doing the little twitch, and he kind of loses it, starts spazzing out. It's pretty funny. It's way more overboard here in the script. And Vader basically decides that everyone's getting piss tested. So we cut to the infamous piss test scene, which is kind of, pretty much all different at this. Like they transfer the pee and everything like that, but there's no wrestling. There's no jokes. The Namrock joke, the Namrock, that's not there. In fact, Namrock isn't even in this scene, which means the best scene in the film is missing from this script. We all know what that is.
Hey, this no my pee.
Yeah, that iconic scene is not here, which is a bummer. I don't know. I'm guessing the next script they realize, hey, this Namrock guy, maybe we make him a part of the band. What were we thinking? And then we get the scene where Mag takes the broom back to Tabitha's house. And it's all pretty much the same. She's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like it here. And you want to see the backyard? It's way cooler in the front yard. That all happens, So all of this goes pretty much the same as well. Like the Eradicators, they get framed. They do the whole blood and guts high thing, the lockers. And then they get in some big trouble. Let's put it that way. Now, I'm very happy that this scene is in here, because this is another great scene in the film, the date between Mag and Tabitha. This happens just kind of, out of nowhere. You don't see Tabitha ask out Mag in this script, which is, it works. You don't have to see every little thing, although I did love that scene in the movie. It's just like Bryn Horrocks is she's so great as Tabitha, and Evan Richards as Mag. They really had a lot of chemistry here. They're some of the best parts of the film. So it's cool to see that they had that in mind this whole time. And it all plays out here, The basic food groups are not sugar, salt, fat, and booze, all of that's here. So after that, we have the dream sequence with Mojo Nixon, and everything's there, word for word. It's all there. I think instead of yuppie hating, lower body gyrating, beanie weenie eating, spirit of rock and roll, it's worded a little different. It even says that he played his song "High School is a Prison." So Mojo Nixon was there very early on.
Get bodacious.
And so the next day we see that the Cool Mobile is finished. So that's part of them getting bodacious, I guess. Now they got a brand new Cool Mobile. And it's funny because here in the background we get like a background gag, kind of like from a spoof movie or something. And it's Eagle Bauer selling a bunch of blow-up dolls. So they keep harkening back to the original with Eagle Bauer. I love that connection. And everything happens. They're filming like, the little stunts that they do. They set up Donovan with all the lingerie. And this time Jones almost gets busted. And I think he hides in a locker. And then whenever they catch Margaret during her makeout session, when they bust them with the cops and all that happens in the film. Well, this happens at a drive-in. And they're there watching Slumber Party Massacre, which is a fun connection as well. Because as we know, the director here, Deborah Brock, she directed Slumber Party Massacre 2, which is awesome. And here, when they get busted, the cops show up. Everything's pretty much the same. Mag doesn't sniff the panties, which is one of my favorite parts in the film. It's so funny. But that doesn't happen. But everything else does. I don't think they steal the giant cell phone. But here, there's a lot more onlookers that see everything, and they don't realize they're being recorded. So just like a lot of the little comedic elements that made the movie what it was, they're just missing here. I guess that's something that happens on set. You know what I mean? So then we cut to the prom scene, and the interesting thing here is that the prom is inside the building. In fact, the whole third act is inside the school itself. And so we see the band setting up, and they're all disguised, but this time they have just the Groucho disguise, the nose and the glasses. Everything plays out, and they start jamming. Rita distracts, Mr. McGree, whatever, and it all kind of just starts going. And Dell and Roy are distracted with some booze, although there's no Star Wars battle. They just kind of get wasted, And Vader is in his office whenever a female call girl shows up, and that whole scene plays out. Only it's not as touchy-feely. Vader is kind of a sadomasochist here, you know what I mean? And then we even get the zillion kisses being misled, and they pull up to a Holiday Inn. Like, what? The prom's at a Holiday Inn? And then, of course, Eagle Bauer pops out, and, acting like the promoter, and basically sells the ruse. Eagle Bauer is definitely the best character in this whole script. And while Namrock isn't part of the band, he is there to support them, as whenever the band kicks off, starts playing, Namrock is there doing his bizarre, hula skirt dance or whatever. And it's here whenever they decide to show all the videos with Donovan and, what's her name throwing up, Margaret getting busted, all that. They show all those videos just as the band shows up, the one they won tickets to see, which of course the Pursuit of Happiness will say that they showed up and they got to see all of this, and they're checking out the band and they're having a great time. So that's something cool that wasn't in the film either. So the same thing here. The yuppies realize the infidelities and they kind of start fighting. Whitney's running around in her underwear, and Margaret's trying to hit her with her car, and she runs into the statue, and the statue falls. And then we cut to Vader, who has the woman of the night or whatever tied upside down, and he has his whip out. But he heard the crash. He sees Eagle Bauer filming him. And then that whole chase scene happens. Everything's there, the tape being kicked around, and they throw the tape in, humiliate Vader in front of everybody. Again, this is all inside the school.
Dr. Vader's a woman?
So after that, Vader gets his car and drives inside the school. The whole chase scene with the car at the end is inside the school. He's going through the halls. Kids are dodging, barely missing it. Eagle Bauer's there. He's like hiding in a classroom. He's like, fuck this, you know what I mean? And then he sees Rita, who's also hiding, and Eagle Bauer's like, stay put, what are you doing? And she's like, I gotta go call a cop, I gotta get the cops. And she runs out, and then that's when Vader sees her, almost runs her over, and starts chasing her around. And then so Jesse tells Jones that, hey, I have an idea. And then they ask Stella for the Cool Mobile. Then we get the stuff where, like, Jesse kind of distracts Vader from basically pulverizing Rita. And then Vader takes off and sees the Cool Mobile, starts chasing it. but we see that it's only Jones in the car because it's a convertible. You know, Jones is driving, and he's like, "Come on, Jesse, don't let me down," you know. And they're driving around. It's a pretty exciting little chase. Inside of the school, they're going up and down stairs, down narrow hallways, and they're leading to the boiler room. And now what happens here is that they're hauling ass. Jones is kind of freaking out. And then he's like, "Come on, Jesse, like, where are you?" And then Jesse pops out from the top paneling in the ceiling, comes out upside down, grabs Jones, picks him up. This kind of baffles Vader. He's like, "What?" Only this time, it's two cars that slam into the building and explode. So that was an interesting thing, like Jesse coming out from the ceiling. I didn't see that coming. And this time, Rita asks Namrock, like, "Hey, have you seen Jesse?" She's all worried because the place is blowing up. You know what I mean? And he's like, "No, I haven't seen him." But then, of course, Jesse and Jones both run out unharmed. And here, everything plays out exactly like it does at the end of the film, only Jesse picks up Vader's hand before saying, the things a guy has got to do to get a date and whatever, and then makes out with the substitute teacher there in front of everybody. And it even ends with Mag talking to the principal, you know, like, about they needed a new school and what we need a new one anyway, I think is what he says. And Mag's like, "Yeah, the plumbing was all screwed up." Like, it still ends exactly the same. I love it. So yeah, as you can see, it's not really a different movie than what we got, yet there was some major changes. It's strange to think that Namrock was almost left out of the band. You know, his character here is very strange and honestly could have been completely omitted. I've actually been on the search for a fourth draft of the script or beyond to see how Namrock went from kind of a bizarre, slightly racist supporting character at best to the bass player for the Eradicators with one of the best lines in the damn movie. Also, this version of Eaglebauer being a former student is a very nice touch, as it hinted again that there was, you know, a connection to the events of the original film. Again, maybe he was a student. I love that idea. And the addition of the Cool Mobile and whatnot would have been awesome. It's hinted that Stella's a gearhead, kind of in spirit only. We don't ever really see her do much in that aspect, which would have been nice to see. We make her like a garage worker, if you will, or something. It would have been cool to give Stella a little something more to do than she got in the film. I mean, Leanne Curtis stands out in the movie regardless, so, I mean, take advantage of that, right? Dr. Vader, being a man, took some convincing, though. Like, reading the script, I kept having to remind myself. And I keep seeing Mary Warnoff. And not much of Vader's dialogue changed here, though. That's the funny thing. It only goes to show how awesome Mary Warnoff is. As in real life, she is not this stoic, dominating force at all. But if you ask me, Dr. Vader is her defining performance. I really like the idea of the band that in the script they're nameless, but again in the films, the Canadian outfit, The Pursuit of Happiness. I love that they show up at the end of the movie, which hints at maybe a record deal or like a tour. I don't know, something happening for the guys. Because as it is, I mean, the Eradicators have a lot of explaining to do. They blew up the entire school. Their principal is literally toast. There must have been more injuries, and I don't know, these guys are probably going to jail. Again, if you are a fan of this silly movie and haven't seen my documentary yet, I'm going to go ahead and link it down below. Now, I'm very proud of that thing, and I'm very happy to have been the one to uncover all these questions and whatnot about the movie. So stick with Staunch on Film for all the silly fun we have planned. Don't forget to get yourself some Staunch merchandise. 20% off your first order, link below. I got a lot of stuff coming for you guys. I got a lot of new videos like this one. And if you want to hear anything, you want to see anything, let me know down in the comments after you like and subscribe and hit all on that notification bell.